Hello, this is Marco Cesero, and welcome to Run, Eat, Drink Podcast.
Welcome to the Run, Eat, Drink Podcast. We feature destination races from across the country. And after the race, we take you on a tour of the best local food and beverage to celebrate. So whether you are an elite runner or a back of the packer like us, you'll know the best places to accomplish, explore, and indulge on your next runcation. Hey, welcome to episode 149 of the Run, Eat, Drink Podcast. I'm your host, Aimee.
And I'm your co-host, Dana.
Welcome to the show.
Guys.
We're just doing it live.
We are doing it live tonight.
We're doing it live, and I think we have two or three people
jumping in.
So if you are watching us record live, welcome.
Yeah, tonight we are live streaming.
We're so excited you're here.
On Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. So
yeah.
Check us out. Share us, please. We'd appreciate the assistance in getting the word out about the Run, Eat, Drink podcast.
Super cool. James J. Williams is in the chat.
Hey, James.
He says, hey.
Hey.
And yes.
Glad you're here.
We're glad you're here. We thoroughly enjoyed your show yesterday.
We were listening to it on the phone.
Yeah,
we'd go get in the car and we plug it into the car and we're listening to it while we're driving. Then we get out and go to the store and we were doing around the grocery store listening to it. Then back in the car. Then going to pick up takeout. It was an all evening affair with you guys.
Yes, we enjoyed it thoroughly. So
very cool.
And we have a good show tonight too.
I like to think so.
I'm excited about it.
Yeah. I am going to be telling you guys a little bit about the next in the series of races from Metal Chasers, the Metal Chasers Assemble Virtual Series. Today's race we'll be talking about is, of course, the Black Panther 10K, also known as the Challenge Continues Virtual 10K. And we are also doing some more foods that are helping you start the year off right in your running and training journey.
Yeah, and this time we did a breakfast, we did a snack. We're moving on to what could be considered a lunch or dinner item, if you will.
Mm-hmm. And a beer.
And a beer, yes.
We did a cocktail last week. We're doing a beer this week.
Yeah.
That would go very well with the food item we're going to talk about. Mm-hmm. Not only with it, but potentially in it. To learn more,
stay tuned. Would you like to know more? He's trying to do a play on Starship Troopers.
Yes.
Does anybody know Starship Troopers? A classic 1980s flick. It was 1980s?
It was 1990s.
1990s, okay.
It all runs together.
It all runs together. I loved the 80s. I loved the 90s. And Starship Troopers. Wow. It was classic when they would do those little news kind of breaks in the movie and say, would you like to know more?
You gotta love Paul Verhoeven's directorial style. So, anyway, that'll be a different podcast for a different day when we start doing movie reviews.
Right. Or we break down classic 80s movies and 90s movies.
Ooh, I'm liking the sound of this show already.
We talk about all of the different hallmarks of the movies of our childhood and young adult years, if you will.
She's got this whole thing planned out like we actually have a show. We don't have a show.
Oh, would anybody be interested in that? Let us know. info@runeatdrink.net. Let us know. I'm just making it up as we go along, right? What, you don't remember those years, James J. Williams?
I think you do.
Good times. Good times.
Let's talk the run, or at least prep for running. Let's talk about you. You actually did quite a bit of working out today.
Yes,
even though you weren't running.
My physical therapist said, "Hey, Ryan." Oh, Ryan Runs Disney is listening. So, you all should know I'm not allowed to run until the end of February. So my workout comes in the form of my physical therapist just having fun herself, assigning me exercises that make me think of 4-letter words.
We're not going to share those here because we don't want an explicit tag. But
no.
I'm right there with you.
But you can imagine.
Having worked with her before, I know what she tends to do.
Yes. She's like, oh, you're 6 weeks out from surgery. Let's try this. Let's try that. I've already professed my disdain for wall sits, which she increased in time. Not in number of reps, but in time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Balance exercises, not on the Bosu ball, but on a little squishy pad that's, I don't know.
Like a foam pad.
Yeah, it's like the length of your finger in terms of the distance up off of the floor.
Thickness?
Like this, I don't know. How much is that?
A couple of inches.
Inches. Yeah. Yeah. But it was an unstable one, and I had to really focus on one part of the wall in order to make it through both of the reps that were a minute long. And by the end, my leg was shaking.
Oh, yeah.
Wall sits, same situation. I said to her, talk to me about something else because I'm never going to make it. I'm never, ever going to make it. Oh, Claude Call. What does he say? The one cool thing about PT is what? Is you do manage to lose a couple of pounds, he says.
There you go.
Yeah. So I'm all about it. Yes. Sorry. I was so excited that I hit the microphone.
Stop hitting the microphone.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Hands down.
Yeah. It's getting more intense.
Yeah.
Physical therapy. I'm sore. I'm still limping, not running, not on my feet a whole lot of the day after that. But I know it's going to do me good in the long run. So, there you go.
Well, that's a good update.
That's my running segment update, right?
And James J. Williams
will never let it die.
The comment says, tell Grogu where the PT hurt you. That's not what I said in that, by the way. I said, show us on the doll where it hurt you. That's an inside joke. If we were on a live stream a couple of weeks ago with some friends of ours over at the
Mouse Ears and Magic. Yes.
And we were doing what's now being called what were we
Mark
calling
Valentine from the Diz Life podcast is in here too. So we were raising money for the cast member pantry just to get this right back on the rails. Mm-hmm. Sorry. Yeah. So we were doing what they will call the Disney Bunch.
The Disney Bunch.
Which is a new show for them premiering at the beginning of February. But it was like a game. It was like a game that hour with a bunch of us. Podcasters and YouTube artists. Yeah.
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 Yeah, and there may have been some jokes flying around at some point.
Yeah.
Anyway, there was a Grogu doll involved. Go look for it.
James, I'm just going to say that Dana's struggle is real in the same way that the Sarah with an H is real for Sarah. So she's from last night. We were in and out of the grocery store, so you may have missed that part. I think.
I heard the Sarah with an H part.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So she's ticked off about that. Just like you're never going to live it down. Never going to live it down. There you go.
Right. That's
anyway,
all right.
My PT, it's a struggle, but I know it will be for good later.
That is for good later. And
that's all I have to
honestly,
say about that.
You're going to be amazed at how quickly your body starts adapting. And
she said, like, at the 6-week mark where I am, she says usually it's where I start to see movement smooth and strength return and kind of the overall, the way it's going to be come into play. Mm-hmm. That's all I'm going to say. Oh, I enjoy the live chat so much. This is only the second time we've done this, and it's just so much fun.
It's adding a different dimension.
Yes.
So
it is.
But let's see, my run.
You did not go to another dimension.
No,
you did not for your running, but
I didn't go to PT either.
But we can show off some swag that you got, and you have a really cool run.
We can indeed.
I love it.
This was my first time getting back out on the road doing a run, really since Christmas. I've been taking it pretty easy. I've had a really interesting bout of tendinitis in my left Achilles tendon for the last few weeks. And it's gotten to the point where for work, I get the option of 2 sets of really comfortable shoes. I can either wear men's dress shoes, which tend to be hard leather.
Not comfortable.
Or combat boots.
Not comfortable.
Also not comfortable. So neither set of footwear is really known for its comfort.
Try women's high heels, man.
Yeah, not so much. It doesn't go with the outfit. But the tendinitis was to the point where it was hurting to wear dress shoes to work. So
That's not good.
No.
And dress shoes don't have a whole lot of support either.
No, so it's a kind of a double whammy.
Yeah.
So I decided to take it pretty easy over the last couple of weeks, and I've enjoyed the fact that we've had interviews during our show. So
we've had some great interviews.
Enabled me to have a little bit of a break. But it was time to get back out on the road. So this was my first run. I'm going to call it a run. We're just going to call it a brisk walk today for any real distance.
You went 6.2 miles, man.
I didn't run.
Yeah, but that's a lot of distance to cover between 1 mile at Christmas and then 6.2 now. Yeah, that's a lot.
It is, but I still didn't run any of it.
Okay.
So
welcome
we're going to call it a brisk walk.
Welcome to the walking segment of our show, the walking and physical therapy segment.
Yeah. But this
how was it? I want to know how the weather was.
Here in Florida, it's been beautiful. She just wants to ring the bell. Go ahead and ring the bell. Yeah. The weather has been beautiful. We've been blessed with cool, dry weather for the last couple of weeks, and except for a couple of days of rain here and there when fronts would come through. But other than that, it's been great. And today was no exception.
Yes.
So I ended up going out and hitting the road today. I did 6.2 just in the neighborhood. And I decided I wasn't going to try to do any interval work today. This was basically my first time getting back out on the road for really in about 3 weeks-ish. Yeah. So I wanted to just take it easy and see what was up with that. And I did learn a couple things. Number one, I forgot that I'd said to myself around Christmas, it's time for a new pair of shoes. So I reminded myself of that today, and I could tell. I'm to the point now where I can tell how worn out my shoes are without even looking at them.
Without looking at the like the tread on the bottom, or just like the feeling you get when you get out there and hit the pavement?
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's time for new shoes, and I was out there doing just a pretty brisk walk. I was a little over 15 minutes a mile.
I dream of that pace.
For all 6.22 miles.
I dream of it.
And you'll get there.
I know.
So
someday.
I did it. I knocked it out.
I got it
done. It was about a 15:25 pace. It's an acceptable Disney pace if you were doing a Run Disney race.
No balloon ladies.
No balloon ladies would have to be worried about. So just took it nice and easy. This is just, it was a longer distance to jump back into. Normally, if I'd taken any time off, I would normally do like a 5K as an introductory run, but I didn't. I went ahead and did jumped into the kind of the middle of the pool.
Yeah. Well, that's your favorite distance, 10K, 6.2 miles is your favorite distance.
Yeah, it is my favorite distance, but it's not necessarily the one that I would want to jump right into.
You got to ease into it. It's like our coach says.
You would think.
You
would think I'd listen to that advice.
If you're going to take some time off, when you come back, you have to ramp up slowly. So
I did not.
He did not. I ramped
up slowly on the pace, not the total distance.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that in a way, you followed his advice. Olympian and our coach, America's coach, Jeff Galloway. He says, if you haven't done the training, slow down.
Yeah. And that's what I did.
And that's good.
I did knock that out. The nice thing about doing that was I got a couple of things for doing that. And I only will wear this if I've done it. And I do get to wear this because I have,
Look at this. It's all glittery.
And if you can see that in the camera there.
It's the Black Panther.
If you can make out the glitter.
And it's like the purple glitter. And it says at the top, right up here, it says the challenge continues.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it says that on the ribbon as well.
Yeah, it's a nice double-sided satin ribbon.
Listening back to this on the podcast feed, it's in the episode artwork.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful metal, very hefty, very solid. It's a black metal with purple accents and purple and gray accents. And
I like it.
The background, of course, or the main feature is a big circular feature with Black Panther's face on it.
Yeah.
The background is purple glitter with what looks like his claw marks ripping through the glitter itself. The part that is at the bottom and a gray rectangular banner going underneath the circular part, it says Metal Chasers Assemble. And it's just a great, high quality, hefty metal that I'm very happy to add to my collection.
Yes. And I will do it when I can.
Once you're able to.
When I can.
Let's
I'm going to get there.
Not go too quick.
I am going to get there.
What's also cool is, of course, with Metal Chasers Assemble, you get a great Tyvek bib that's just like a regular race bib if you're going to a race. The only difference is there's no running chip or timing chip on the back of it.
Yeah.
But it's the same material, so you could wear this. It doesn't matter how sweaty you get or if you get rained on, it's not going to tear and be...
It's pretty hardcore, like the Run Disney bibs we get.
Yes.
Yeah. And I will say, one of our very loyal followers and also a BR guest podcast Lizard, Rhonda Lee, she, when the Run Disney races went virtual, she opted for the refund from Run Disney. And then she went on to Metal Chasers and she got medals from them and to run the distances on the weekend that would have been the Run Disney weekend. And what I think is so cool about that is Metal Chasers in their virtuals, they connect with charities.
Yes.
Different charities for all the different ones that we've featured throughout all of the fall. Yeah. Most of the end of 2020.
Most of the end of 2020. We had initially planned to finish the entire Metal Chaser series prior to the end of 2020. However, with you having to get surgery, that kind of threw a little bit of a monkey wrench into things. And then once you start getting right towards the end of the year, it's pretty easy to find yourself just running out of time.
Yeah.
With the holidays and travel and preparation, or if you're not traveling, just the holidays. It's a crazy time.
It is.
So
but
we got a lot done. We still have, we just completed this one for the show.
Yes. And this one actually, it supports the Colorectal Cancer Alliance, which we have a link to in the show notes.
Fantastic.
And of course, that's very appropriate considering that I can't believe that Black Panther is not coming back to the Marvel Universe.
Certainly not in the initial incarnation.
Right.
You have, of course, with Chadwick Boseman's passing, they've already committed that they are not going to recast the role.
Which I totally support and get.
I suspect we'll see his sister Shuri take up the mantle of Black Panther.
Which would be super cool.
Maybe in one of the future ensembles, or perhaps as a standalone movie in her own right.
Super cool.
It'll be interesting.
She's the brainy one, right?
She's the brainy one.
She's the brainy one.
Yeah.
I love it.
So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out in phase 4 of the MCU.
Yeah. So, like you said, we still have a couple of these that are left, and I owe this one plus those 3.
A couple to the running gods.
I do.
And I'm probably, just to prep everybody, I'm probably going to do those races out of order. The next 2 races in the Metal Chasers series that'll finish us out is the Thor half marathon.
Yes.
And the Tony Stark 10K. Tony Stark 10K is the last race in the series.
Supposed to be the end.
It's supposed to be the last
the journey.
one.
The part of the journey is the end.
Yeah. Potential spoiler alerts if you haven't seen the last movie in Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Really?
So
you've seen it.
If you haven't seen Avengers Endgame, we're sorry. If you haven't seen Avengers Endgame, you must be living under a rock, and chances are you're not on here. So
Or on any kind of social media channel.
At all, ever. So I'm going to probably do those out of order only because I don't want to do a half marathon.
Yeah.
And then fall back to a 10K. I'm going to use the 10K and prep for the half marathon.
Yeah.
And those are both incredible medals. And
they are. They're so beautiful.
Well, I was going to say, and the Tony Stark one has a light up element to it, which is really cool. So we'll be showing those off in the weeks to come.
Yeah.
As we're finishing up.
And then I'll get them in when I can.
Yes.
When I am able, when I recover the way that I should. I'm not going to go and do them like I did the first time I had my knee scoped. I had my left knee scoped back in 2014. And I was like, yes, I'll go back to work after a week and I'll keep training for the inaugural Star Wars light side at Disneyland, California.
Yeah.
No.
That was too much too soon.
Too much too soon.
So we've learned.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to do that.
I do notice in the live stream we have more people jumping in. Please say hi, drop a comment. We'd love to be able to say hi to you and shout you out on the show.
I was waving.
This episode this week is being recorded live, just so that everybody knows.
Yeah. And our patron Josh and patron James J. Williams in the chat. And Ryan Runs Disney is in the chat. You make it so much fun.
Mark Valentine from This Is Life.
Yes. So. It's Marvel Monday. What?
Yeah, well,
it's Marvel Monday.
It is Marvel Monday. I ran a race for Marvel Monday. There we go.
It's brilliant, and I can't ring the bell because it's not weather related, but I really want to ring the bell. Okay, I'm not going to ring the bell. I'm not. Okay.
No, I'm putting the bell over here. No more weather talk. So, once you got done with your PT and I got done with running, of course, if you're going to be running and you're going to be doing...
Patron Rob is also in the chat.
Yeah. If you're going to be burning all these calories, of course, you've got to fuel the machine.
You do. You totally do.
And this is another opportunity for us to give you guys some great information and a recipe to put in your repertoire.
Yes, and I will tell you that our recipe, like I said before, it was a breakfast recipe we kicked this off with in the new year, and then we went to a snack with the hummus, and now we're going on to a lunch and dinner option.
Yes.
In vegan chili.
Yes, and keep in mind that anything that we're going to talk about here with the vegan chili is really very easy to make it not vegan chili by adding some meat. And I'm going to talk about that as an option in a little bit. But this is a very simple recipe that I've come up with over the last couple of years, looking for something that sticks to your ribs, especially when it gets cooler outside in the fall.
Yes. I think this is winter. This is the perfect time. We've had a little bit of a cooler set of temperatures from all like the front and things like that here, but our fellow listeners that are in the northern parts of the country or outside the country, they're getting
hit with snow and ice, and that's...
You need something that kind of warms your soul.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's hearty and that's keeps you going.
Yeah, and for me, growing up, I absolutely loved my mom's chili. And I mean, she made it with ground beef and beans.
Yeah.
There's an argument out there, like almost a religious argument about should chili even have beans. I grew up with chili with beans, so for me, it's beans, but there are some who say no. They say it's meat and tomatoes and spices only.
Really?
Yeah.
When you have a chili dog, right?
But I think that's a specially prepared kind of chili.
Agreed.
Again,
I don't know.
Tell us what you think. Drop it in the comments. Tell us if you're on team beans or team no beans. I'd be curious.
I know you hate it when I'm like a fence sitter, but I think it just depends on how you're going to use the chili. And you say that your mom made it with beans and with ground beef. My dad used to my mom made a crock pot chili that had meat and beans.
Oh, yeah.
But my dad made a special chili for chili cook-offs, like competitions between the teachers when I was in high school.
Oh, cool.
And he would make it with fajita beef, steak fajita in the chili. And I'm telling you, it was amazing. My mouth is watering.
I bet. Thinking
about like that Southwest flair. And there was a chicken chili that I would make out of Cooking Light's website and magazine when that was still circulating. And they still have their website, but it was like chicken and green, like a green salsa base and like hominy and that
was chili adjacent.
It's kind of more like a stew now that I think about it, I guess.
Green chicken chili stew with hominy.
Yeah.
But you made this other chili that was more like the steak pieces like you were talking about that had a lot of poblano pepper. And
so good. Like fire roasted poblano pepper. So good.
And I wanted to capture something similar to that in a vegetarian or vegan option.
Yes.
And I miss the feeling of the comfort of the ground beef.
Yeah.
And I've come up with a recipe that does a really good job of giving you a lot of those flavors and textures without the meat. And then, of course, if you want the meat, you can add the meat back in. So
yeah,
it's really very simple. And we're going to talk, it's basically some one-pot cooking with 2 steps.
Okay.
And it's really pretty simple. And this is about as easy as it gets because we're going back to the pressure cooker this week or the Instant Pot or your version of that, no matter what the brand is.
Like we have an Instant Pot that we got. Did we not get it for
Christmas? This one.
And it can be a pressure cooker. It can be a quick cooking. It can be like it can be all things. And we love that. Yeah. And I love the comments. I love the comments that we're getting.
Well, I like that we're getting some people coming down on one side or the other. So
look at Claude.
Beans or no beans.
Okay.
So this is really very simple. If you've got access to a pressure cooker and an Instant Pot, you're going to go with a pound of red kidney beans, dry.
Yeah,
and I like the dry beans because they are really inexpensive. They're about 1/4 the cost of the canned versions, and you can control all of the additives, especially sodium, which
is big for you.
Big for me. Mm-hmm. So I just go with a pound of the dry beans, put that in there. And then the secret to this one is really in a canned ingredient that you cannot live without for entertaining or quick flavored dishes, and that is something called RoTel. And I wish they were a sponsor of the show. They're not. We just love them.
Yeah, and all of the ingredients that you are mentioning, we actually have in the show notes, and we have
the recipe.
Yeah, and we have the recipe, and we have links to the products on Amazon.
Yes. So you add in, for this one, I believe it was 4 cans of RoTel. And I split the difference between the no salt added, because they have different varieties. I split the difference between the no salt added RoTel and they have a fire roasted version.
So you had 2 of each.
2 of each.
The no salt and then the fire roasted. And I think that just adds a layer of flavor.
Yeah.
A layer.
1 medium onion diced, throw it in the pot. Then it was garlic powder, onion powder, chili powder.
Yeah.
You could add additional stuff. Some people like to add a little more cumin on top of the chili powder to make it smokier.
Yeah.
Some people have their own special secrets.
Blend.
I've seen people do things like cinnamon in their chili and kind of some things that I think are a little non-traditional, and hey, whatever works for you.
It depends on what you're achieving, you're trying to achieve.
But just going with those ingredients that I talked about right there, then...
And you just put them all in the Instant Pot.
I just put everything in the Instant Pot and then add the water. So that's about 6 to 8 cups of water, depending on how much you're wanting to make.
Right. You had a pound of beans.
I had a pound of beans. I did 6 cups of water, and there's a reason.
Okay.
So 6 cups of water, seal the Instant Pot, cook it for an hour on high. And you literally just set this thing and forget it, and it does its thing.
We love it.
It's phenomenal. Once you're done with that, then what you're going to do is you're going to turn the Instant Pot off and let the pressure off.
Right.
So once the pressure's off, you can open it safely, stir everything, and then I'm adding 1 cup of dry cracked wheat. Why the cracked wheat? That sounds like a really weird ingredient.
Yes.
It is a really weird
And the first time you
ingredient.
told me about it, I was like, is this really going to work? Or it's going to taste funny.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the right consistency.
It sounds so weird to do this, but there's a reason why. The cracked wheat, when you get it, you basically, it looks like little, the best way I could describe the look of it is that it looks like grape nuts in its appearance. But once you scoop that in and stir, then you reseal the pot and you let it go for another 20 minutes on high.
It's thinner. That's
just a close approximation.
It's almost like wheat germ.
Yes.
Yeah. That
bigger.
you see in the cereal aisle.
But bigger.
Yeah.
So you let that go for 20 minutes after you've stirred it in. And
But I imagine that would be the part where you could add your beef, your ground beef, or
yes. So now this is the stage. I'm adding the cracked wheat instead of the ground beef. I'm also checking my seasoning to make sure that if it needs a little bit, for me, I don't use salt. So we add in liquid aminos.
Yeah. And liquid aminos, that's a different ingredient for a lot of people.
It's similar to a soy sauce without as much sodium. And for vegetarians or vegans, it imparts some of the nutritional things that they need for not eating meat. So we do it mainly for the sodium.
Mainly for just that little hit to bring out all the other spices and flavors. And
you need a little bit of salt to bring those flavors out.
And that keeps it down for us.
So at that point, you check your seasoning. If you need to add more of anything else, you can. The cracked wheat has gone back in. You seal it up 20 minutes. What happens there is magic. The cracked wheat absorbs a lot of the moisture.
That's why you have the liquid.
That's why I only put 6 cups in. You can do 8, but I did 6 because I wanted a thicker chili.
It just depends on what you want.
Depends on what you're going for in terms of the consistency.
And how you're going to use it.
Yeah. Now, if at that point you added ground beef to yours, like browned ground beef, drain off the oil and then put it in there, 20 more minutes in there, it's going to be perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And delicious.
And delicious. It's not going to thin it out, or it's not going to thicken it up like this cracked wheat did, though.
It bulks it up so that it's almost like it's just a hearty.
What the cracked wheat does is by absorbing all of the liquid in there, or absorbs most of the liquid, it turns everything very thick, so it actually gives you the consistency of a ground beef chili.
Yeah. And it really does. And the first time he ever made this for me, when we started all of this, I was like, it's not going to work. It's not going to be right. It's not going to, and it is very hearty. It's not the exact same consistency as ground beef.
No. And look, I'm not trying to fool anybody with this. I would never say you're never going to know it's not there. Wrong. This is a vegetarian version of chili that gives you a great taste, great mouthfeel, and you don't miss the meat. And you don't go, oh, wow, what's this broccoli doing in my chili? It's not that.
It's hearty.
Right.
And it's a stick to your ribs kind of thing, especially in winter. And once you do that, what you let it go for how long with that in? With the liquid aminos and the cracked wheat?
20 more minutes.
And then you depressurize again.
Depressurize, and at that point, you're ready to scoop and serve or scoop into your meal prep for the week.
Yeah. And if you're going to serve it,
like we did today.
I was thinking about it as I was prepping the whole thing. We do sliced jalapeno.
We live dangerously. We
keep the seeds in there because you never know. It's wild. It's crazy.
Fresh jalapeno slices, not the pickled ones. Pickled ones tend to be a little bit milder in terms of the heat. So we go with the full green, bright green, raw jalapeno peppers.
And it is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
And no two are the same.
But I wonder if you take a chance and you put it in with the other ingredients like we did the onions, I wonder what it would do.
You certainly could. You could add in like a diced fresh jalapeno to the mix.
Sure.
At the same time when you do the diced onion. What I like about RoTel, if you're not familiar with what RoTel is a mixture of peppers and onions and tomatoes that are already stewed and seasoned and then canned. And depending on the variety that they have, some of those seasonings can be just a little bit of salt. Some of those seasons can be garlic. Some are the fire roasted like we used.
Habanero. There was a habanero.
Have a habanero variety that will get your attention.
Yeah.
That one's hot.
Yeah. But most people know RoTel because they mix it with Velveeta for dips.
Especially around this time of year. And
Like
that may be something to talk about.
Football playoffs.
Maybe in a week or so.
Like that, yeah.
A lot of people use RoTel, Velveeta, or processed cheese of some sort.
Some kind, yeah.
And
the
sometimes
melty
a
kind
sausage.
of.
And they make queso.
Yes.
Out of it.
Yeah.
But RoTel is an amazing ingredient. And I see a couple of comments. Claude talks about using coconut aminos because of his wife's allergy to soy. We tend to use coconut aminos in recipes in place of things like fish sauce.
Yes.
Or if it calls for Worcestershire, because there's a slightly different flavor profile to coconut aminos as opposed to the standard liquid aminos. But yeah, that's a good call if you're wanting to stay clear of soy altogether. That's a great option.
Sarah Elizabeth says everybody in the South knows what RoTel is. But Stephanie Swan had a question.
I see that we have Stephanie Swan's cheering for fresh jalapeno.
Yeah, I like the bite. I'm willing to risk it.
And Claude's saying if you blanch your jalapeno, it does temper the heat.
Yes.
Yes. We're okay with heat. The only time it really starts to get questionable for us is if we get that rogue jalapeno that it wanted to be in habanero when it grew up.
Yeah.
And every now and then you get one that's
or like a serrano.
It thinks it's the next step on the Scoville scale.
Ooh. It's so Stephanie Swan, what was her question? Her question was corn in the chili.
I personally, that's not what I grew up with. I have had it.
Then it becomes a Southwest chili.
Yeah.
And you could use dried black beans as the base.
I was going to say, I have done a Southwestern style black bean chili with corn in it before.
Yeah.
I would not personally do kidney beans with corn, but that's just what I grew up with being accustomed to.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah. The flavors of childhood often carry us, and that's what we hearken back to and when we actually cook for ourselves in the kitchen.
So I would say that I am not team corn, but with an asterisk.
I think you could make it for a different purpose. If you were going for like a black bean of mixture that you put in a tortilla.
Maybe we'll do the black bean chili next week. It might be, when we start doing meal prep, we'll talk about it because that may be a good way to go.
Yeah.
And we haven't had it in a while.
I think there are many variations you could do on chili.
And I think you guys might really enjoy that if you're looking for a way to do something different. And like you're saying, you could either make that as the entree, like the stew, or you could do it in a tortilla.
If you, like you said, you added not so much water because you wanted the thicker consistency in the cooking.
Yes.
I think if you control that amount of water in the cooking, then it almost becomes like the refried beans in a tortilla.
Yeah, and that was what I was going for.
Yeah.
I wanted something that was thinner than refried beans, but thicker than a soup.
Yes.
So that's what I was going for. And believe it or not, that secret ingredient of the cracked wheat. And I didn't miss the reference earlier that somebody said they thought I said cracked weed.
No.
Or crack and weed.
No. He wouldn't. I don't think you would ever say that.
I wouldn't. This chili
or recommend that in chili.
Relax you and keep you going all at the same time.
I don't think he would do that.
No. But it is a surprisingly good dish. We have the recipe in the show notes.
Yeah, the one that you did.
Yes.
Our audience here tonight in the chat have just been killing it with different suggestions, like for who knew for a soy sauce allergy or just all the different variations, different beans, different, like we did jalapenos and fresh onions and a little bit of hot sauce on the top of the chili.
Yes. Yeah, we actually got sidetracked. So Aimee has no fear of the jalapenos. No. And then I think you also sprinkled some vegan cheese.
I did.
Because we found a couple of brands of vegan cheese that we enjoy.
Yeah.
That actually give you some melt and some good flavor.
Yeah.
But again, if you're not wanting to eat vegan, if you're wanting to eat quote unquote real food, then by all means, in that second part of the cook process, once you're done, add in your browned ground beef and reseal it and give it 20 minutes in that pressure cooker. You're going to have an amazing beef chili.
I want to do that fajita beef that my dad did when I was a kid now.
Ooh.
When we have a day 7 where we have meat. I just, yeah.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
And Sarah says black beans, cheese, corn equals Santa Fe chili. Yeah, see that?
Oh.
And the more we talk about that, the more I think that may end up being
like a Santa Fe type, because we tend to go for really spicy, like Asian or Mexican flavors in our vegetarian and vegan dishes.
We do.
For lunch and dinner.
I like something that is going to give me a good flavor bomb. I also like the juxtaposition of crisp vegetables like onions and peppers on top of something maybe softer like beans. Yeah. And having that contrasting textures.
But there are some people who will do like a chili and put it like over rice, or there have been like chili mac, like chili pastas. John Bagliani has just entered the chat.
Hello, John Bagliani. Good evening.
And I would love to know his Italian spin on chili.
Oh, goodness.
Because I know that we talked about spicier, different kinds of beans, different kinds of spices in terms of the Southwest flair. But what would he do with an Italian kind of spin with maybe some of his sausage?
Or maybe he just leans heavy into the Southwest.
I don't know.
Let's find out. Maybe he'll drop something in the comments and let us know.
Yeah.
But
a patron of the show.
Check out the show notes for this recipe.
Yep.
Try it out. Let us know if you do. I would love to hear if we inspired you to try something new, or if you riff on what we provide you.
Exactly.
Tell us how you changed it up, because we're always looking for things to keep our meals exciting here at home. And since we're trying to eat super healthy, starting out 2021, giving us some tools in our tool belt is part of what makes this community so great, is that we can helping each other.
Yeah, you vary up the flavors on one dish. You can have it lots of different ways and be satisfied. And I think chili is a great thing for meal prep as well.
Oh yeah, because this recipe that's in the show notes made 8 servings for us. And so we ate 2, and then we put 6 in the fridge for the rest of the week. So we've got lunch for at least both of us for 3 days this week.
Yeah, so it's great.
Yeah, can't go wrong with that. Yeah. And we're going to talk a little bit about another ingredient that you might be able to, or a beverage you could have with this.
Yeah.
But could also be an ingredient if you wanted to get really super creative.
That's true.
Before we go on.
Before we go on, Dana,
we want to say thank you to people like John Bagliani, who's in the chat, or James J. Williams, who's in the chat,
Rob
Nadow, Josh,
or Chicago Mike, as James J. Williams likes to call him.
His alias.
His alias, yes.
And the reason we're calling these guys out in particular is because they have opted to become patrons of the show by supporting us over at patreon.com/Run Eat Drink Podcast. Believe it or not, in this time of a global pandemic, we've actually been able to grow the show thanks to the generosity of our patrons.
Yes. What you see here in terms of the setup and being able to record the show live and share our studio here, our love of Marvel that's behind me that I'm really like covering up.
That's okay, because we got more lights and everything coming. That's going to light up the background.
My big head is
a little bit
right in the middle, but we couldn't do all this without you. We couldn't do our show. It really has flourished as a result of your support, and we cannot thank you enough. There are patrons that are fans, founders, and insiders at the $2, the $5, and the $10 level, and you can see what the the special benefits and perks are if you go to patreon.com/runnydrinkpodcast.
Yeah. Regardless of the level of patronage you guys choose, every dollar that you pledge to us, we put into the show.
Absolutely.
And it keeps the bandwidth flowing and the lights on and the set improving and the equipment improving. And we can't thank you guys enough. Really, it was so unexpected that we were able to grow it all during a global pandemic. And that you guys are keeping us going. It's just amazing. So thank you for that.
Yes.
And if you guys want to become patrons of the show, head over to patreon.com/runnydrinkpodcast, pick your level, and start enjoying those perks, and know that you are keeping her in coffee and me putting stuff together all the time, making sure that the tech works. And we're hoping to have some amazing stuff coming for you guys in 2021 and beyond.
Yes. And in fact, we put 2 bonus food and beverage segments up there for our insiders.
Yes.
And we just love y'all. And our show, our podcast will always be free and always be out there. But if you're looking for more behind the scenes and you just want to support, then that's a way to do it. The patron program through Podbean or patreon.com/runnydrinkpodcast. And we just can't thank you all enough for your support of the show.
You rock. So now we are heading into the drink segment of this, and what we're going to talk about is a beer, and it is something that could be paired with the chili we just talked about.
Do you see this?
I know. I just put John's comment up in the chat, and he says that they make it with homemade Italian sausage, spicy or the mild.
That sounds amazing.
There's no problem with that at all. Although I've never had chili with Italian sausage, and
I don't think I have either.
And guys, just so you all know, John and Nancy Bagliani, they used to have an amazing food truck here in Cape Coral. They made one of the most insane Italian sausage sandwiches. We have bragged on that sandwich more times than we can count.
You can go back and you can actually hear.
Yes.
And see.
So that's why we're even commenting on this, is that dish was amazing. But this beer we're going to talk about tonight is
something you could add it to the chili.
You could have with the chili.
Or you could add this or any variety of beer.
You could replace some of that water that we talked about, the 6 cups of water. You could.
Oh, that's true.
You could replace about half of that with a couple of cans of this bad boy right here. This is called Normal Pills, and this is made by Destihl Brewery.
Yes. We first discovered them through our friends at Number 3 Craft Brews.
Yes.
And we discovered them because they made a beer called Clarice.
Yeah, this was a beer that we discovered back in 2016, and here I am whacking the microphone.
I'm trying not to do it. See, we're still figuring it out,
Back in 2016, we discovered this beer. The Clarice is what they call a Grand Cru, and I'm not super well versed on what all defines a Grand Cru, but Aimee might know better than me.
Stand by.
She's going to go to the internet.
Hang on. The internet will help me.
But the name of the beer came at a pretty rough time for me. That is the same time that my mother passed away from stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. Yes. And we ended up buying literally every bottle that they had.
Yeah.
And
actually, our friends at Nice Guys Pizza,
they got them for us.
Yeah, we were in Tampa. And we didn't want any of that to go away. So we messaged them. They went over there. They said, make sure that you hold every single bottle of this Destihl Clarice, which is a Grand Cru, which is a Belgian strong dark ale, which is 10% ABV.
Yeah, it is.
And it has been aged in French cognac oak barrels, culminating in a beautiful beer that warmly welcomes a deep amber color and cherry-like aroma. So that's not the one we're trying, but that's the one that introduced us to. We actually still have a bottle of the Clarice.
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've given that to family at the holidays, and and to commemorate my mom. But
Jen, welcome.
This particular beer that we're having tonight is the exact opposite. Our introduction to Destihl Brewing is really at the high end. That's a high octane,
10%,
big punch of a beer. This one, and Buck agrees, that's a high octane beer.
Yeah, he's no, he's not going to have it.
The one that we're talking about tonight, this is a very light in color beer. We're going to show you here in front of the camera. This is a very clear, pale yellow. There is not a lot going on as far as the color. It's completely transparent.
Yeah.
This has a light to moderate carbonation. And this is coming in at, what's the ABV?
It's a German-style Pilsner at 5% ABV. It's named after their hometown.
Of Normal.
It's a light-bodied lager that celebrates the simplicity of rural central Illinois, where soil is rich, air is clean, and crops are abundant. Brilliantly pale in color, and that's true, it is. This beer exhibits a pronounced spicy floral nose with a soft bready character. Flavors of sweet malt with earthy floral hops come to the front before finishing crisp and dry for a beer that is anything but normal.
I see what they did there.
Normal. But I think this, I don't know if I mentioned it on the show when we were talking about what we were going to do in the running, eating, and drinking when we did the preview earlier. But I used to cook a whole lot from the Cooking Light website. And they had a section, so many of their recipes were just outstanding. They also have articles that actually recommend for different styles of chili, different beer styles that would go with specific styles of your chili.
Oh.
Like a Colorado chili, like a Santa Fe chili, like a vegetarian or vegan chili. And the German Pilsner was the recommendation on Cooking Light. Not this one specifically, but that was the style recommendation because it's light and it's acidity. So I went after Pilsner and I found this.
Well, good find.
At Total Wine.
Let's see what we think about it here. Cheers.
It's very light.
Very
light.
The carbonation is actually, I would say, light, not medium.
Yeah, it's still there though. It's still present. It's not. There are some like locally at 8 Foot Brewing. We've had a couple. I think the Victoria, it was almost like there was no carbonation at all. You can still tell the carbonation is here.
Oh yeah, it's just not. It's not effervescing like a sparkling water or a soda pop.
Not super high.
Soda for us in the South, pop for all you people up north.
Is that the way it is?
It is soda down here.
Okay, I call it soda. Anyway. But I'm not going to hate on anybody that calls it pop.
I don't care. Anybody.
I don't care. So
they can be wrong, and I can still love them.
There's a little bit of they're wrong. No, yes. We love you. Yeah, any of you Yankees, Jen from Running Through Wonderland and up there in New York, we love you.
That's a whole different animal.
Okay,
and actually, James is correct. In the South, it's Coke. It's all Coke.
That is true. I've had German Pilsners that don't have like a bite on the end, like a little bit of a bitterness that lingers in your throat. And this has a little bit of bitterness that is in the back of your throat.
I sense that as well, although I don't find it to be unpleasant.
No, I would totally get this again and would recommend it. There are just others that have less of that lingering just tinge of bitterness, but I think it's light, and I think it would really refresh your palate if you got a hold of some fiery jalapenos, raw jalapenos.
Yes, this would be a great beer for the errant pepper that decides that it wanted to be something a little higher on the Scoville scale.
Right.
Jen asked, what are we doing? Jen, you jumped in on the drink section, and we are talking about this week's beer from Destihl Brewing. We
shared our recipe for vegetarian vegan chili. And now we are, because Stephanie Swan is probably, I hope she's still in the chat. She was one who said, hey, what about pairings, like beverage and food pairings? So we went after this beer, particularly the style, so that we could pair it with the chili, because I think it would be a nice refresher during the meal.
Yeah. And I also think that for a lot of people in the U.S., especially those that aren't really into the real hardcore craft beers, the Pilsner style is probably very approachable because it's reminiscent or more related to an American lager.
Right.
So it won't be so different as to be a complete shock to your palate. And it's also not so high in ABV that it's going to be a shock to your liver.
Right.
At least one.
I think this would go a long way in the meal. And it's very what they would call sessionable, so that you could have more than one if you wanted to.
Yes.
And not be just totally sunk in terms of ABV.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this would be, like I said, if you were going to make chili, this would be a great one where you can maybe do half water, half beer in your mix and let it cook. You would get some of those hoppy notes, and the breadiness would come through in the chili, I think.
The bready notes would be really a good complement for the chili. And I think that there are also some amber ales out there that would go nicely in some chili.
Oh, yeah. I'm a big fan of going with a strong flavored dark beer, like an amber or a red, into a dark chili. But this would not be bad either. This
is nice to have with the chili, and then I think you could vary it up, and you could have Wave Maker amber ale
from Big Storm,
something like that.
Absolutely.
Or
if we're going local, you could do the Irish Red from Scotty's Beer Works. You could do the Irish Red even from Coastal Days Brewing.
Oh, yeah. Rockin' Reef Red.
If you want to keep to the reds. And we're saying reds because reds typically have a little more robust flavor, but they have a little bit of a bitter finish to them.
In terms of adding them to the recipe,
yes,
I think.
Yes.
But I think this is a nice refresher for the spice that you may have.
For drinking with.
And drinking with the meal.
I agree.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah. It might be great in the chili, but those are just some recommendations to give you in terms of style. A red ale, a Scotch ale, an amber ale, a Pilsner.
Or you could go with something like a Mexican lager.
Ooh, yeah.
Modelo. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, at any rate...
This is the beer.
This is the beer.
The
Destihl.
offering from Destihl Brewery, normal pills, 5% ABV, German style Pilsner.
And Destihl for a long time wasn't really readily available for a time. It was available, and then it wasn't in Florida, and now it is. And it seems to be in wider distribution now. And
that's a good sign. Maybe we'll see some of their other offerings make their way back down here.
Anyway, nobody wants a Corona anymore.
That's what I'm seeing in the chat here.
Modelo, Modelo. I like Negro Modelo.
I know what you're saying there, James. Nobody wants Corona anymore. They might want to work on their marketing.
Yeah.
But to be fair, they were there first.
That's true.
So
that's true.
Just squeeze a lime in there and enjoy it. So anyway. That,
my goodness,
is going to do it for the hour and for the show.
Yeah. Hey.
We actually got the technology working tonight for the live stream, and we cannot thank you guys enough for actually jumping in and spending the better part of an hour with us tonight.
We got so many good recommendations when we came to talking about the chili and talking about variations on the recipe and just beer suggestions too here at the end.
Yeah, so in the episode show notes, I posted the episode show notes for this episode in the Facebook feed for this live stream, in the YouTube live stream as well. And if you are subscribed, when you download the episode, you'll see the episode show notes. Make sure, if you're going to try the recipe, we really want to see what variations you guys come up with and your impressions of the recipe itself. We would love to hear info@runeatdrink.net.
Or if you share it on social media, if you share the show and your recipe, which we would absolutely love so that we can grow the Runcation Nation, it's at Run Eat Drink Podcast on Facebook and Instagram, and at Run Eat Drink Pod on Twitter. So we would love it if you shared the show. We'd love it if you gave it a rating on Apple Podcasts, because those are some free ways that you can help us grow the Runcation Nation and have all of these amazing people that we've had a chance to hang out with for an hour here tonight, or who are listening back on the feed on Podbean or their favorite podcast player. So next week,
yes,
I think we're going to continue on this path to sharing some healthy recipes. And we're going to continue to share our progress in running and recovery. And so stay tuned.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be doing the next 10K or if I'm doing something else, but we'll find out as my running calendar starts to fill up over the next few days.
Yeah.
I'll let you guys know.
Yeah.
In the meantime, we would really appreciate it if you would head over to Apple Podcasts and provide us a rating and review. The Runcation Nation has grown so much over this year. We were marveling about that earlier in the middle of the show.
Yes.
And one way that you can do it that's totally free, just takes a minute, is head over there, rating and review on Apple Podcasts.
Absolutely.
And you told me that if they've already done it, but their review has fallen off.
If it was a long time ago, check and see if it's still there or if it needs to be put in there again. So that really helps us get discovered, that we can continue to, as we love to say, accomplish, explore, and indulge right along with you.
Yeah. And by doing the rating and review, that helps people find us when they start searching over on Apple Podcasts. It's all about their algorithm.
Whatever it is.
It's very computery, sciencey.
Yeah.
Complicated.
So if you can share us, we would appreciate it. And we want to thank you for joining us. If you're in the live feed, thanks for tuning in and giving us your feedback and suggestions. If you're listening to us on your commute to work, around the house, on your long run, wherever you are, we thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Aimee.
And I am your co-host, Dana.
Stay safe, stay well, and we will accomplish, explore, and indulge right along with you really soon. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Run, Eat, Drink podcast. We're having another great year thanks to your support. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We're at Run, Eat, Drink Podcast. And on Twitter, we're Run, Eat, Drink Pod. You can also give us a call at 941-677-2733 or send us an email at info@runeatdrink.net. Visit our website at runeatdrink.net and click on the subscribe link so you don't miss a minute. Find out how you can support the show at patreon.com/runeatdrinkpodcast. Accomplish, explore, and indulge right along with us. We'll talk to you next time.